So the other day I was listening to this clip with the Axios CEO on CNN. He was saying that in the not so distant future, a lot of our jobs are going to be replaced. And
is AI coming for your job? A string of headlines this month suggest the answer is not only yes, but soon. The New York Times reported that Amazon is on the cusp of replacing more than 500,000 warehouse jobs with robots and plans to automate 75% of its operations. The same outlet followed up days later with news that Amazon will cut 14,000 corporate jobs as it plows more than $120 billion into data centers and AI development.
Such companies as Amazon are going to be the vanguards, the leaders in this automation of robotics and AI. And a lot of Democratic politicians, such as Bernie Sanders and AOC, they're promoting a more socialist way of doing government to kind of counter this tremendous job loss that's about to happen. And they actually did a recent poll, and over 60% of Democrats, and I believe it's only in the New York area where they did the poll, are trending towards socialism.
Two trends ripe for Democrats: the evolving popularity of socialists and also the concerns over artificial intelligence. I want to break the two of them down and put up a graph on the screen that shows the relative popularity among Ds, Rs, and Is of socialism. When asked whether, as a gut check, you approve of socialism, 66% of Ds say they do, 38% of of independents say they do, and only 14% of independents. Is that a prescription that can be sold by Democrats all across the country or only in New York City?
I mean, you look at that poll and it says that's where the energy inside the Democratic Party is. I agree with you. I don't think, based on what I've seen in American politics and what I've seen of the performance of kind of socialistic countries in Europe, I don't think it's necessarily a winning formula. But among Democrats, especially among young, energetic Democrats, they're much more enamored with socialism than capitalism.
What do you think that developing, maybe I asked this in two parts. Do you think having a socialist government is needed if we're going to be replaced by robots and AI? Or maybe can we use just some socialist tools to help counter what's going on with the AI and the robots in our job situation?
Yeah. Well, we're already semi-socialists. We might be the least socialist of the Western nations, but surely, we're socialists. National defense is done by the government. Police, fire, parks, roads. There's a lot of stuff that's done by the government for us. We have a social safety net that I don't think there's anybody that says that we shouldn't have some kind of social safety net. So we do have some socialism, maybe less so than, say, France, but we still have some. But yeah, there's socialist style programs that'll need to kick in. Universal income is one that was talked a lot about recently. That's the one that's going to have to kick in if all these people are going to be out of work and all these companies are going to, 5x their profits because they don't have labor concerns and they can go 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No more unions to negotiate with, no more pensions. So sure, they're going to 5x or 10x their productivity. So if they want customers, the government is going to have to step in and provide some kind of universal basic income for these folks, funded by some of the savings or new profits that these companies are going to be experiencing.
Well, so we were talking the other day, and you were saying that we're going to probably need some type of oversight committee to make sure that these big companies such as Google and Facebook, Amazon, have a plan for these people who are going to be unemployed.
Right. Yeah. That's the first thing that comes to mind is a government oversight. But then every time you say government oversight, it reminds me of Reagan's famous line. What's the seven scariest words in the history of humanity? And that's, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. So anytime the government starts something, knock on wood, it's going to turn out well. But the problem is government programs are sticky. And once they get implemented, they don't want to pull them back. It's like a tax. Once a tax gets put in, they like it there. They've got new staff there. They're not about to fire anybody. They like the power.
So maybe we should have an AI oversight. What if we had AI oversight AI?
We may not have a choice. If AI gets too smart too fast, then we're not going to have a choice. AI is going to say, we're doing the oversight. Don't worry your pretty little head about it.
Okay, so then basically, we're letting AI starting to govern us. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, you've heard of the patriarchy. We're going to talk about the robot AI archy. I mean, it's it's going to organize our lives in many ways for the better. Because not to be too controversial. Sure, women were not allowed to vote. Women were not allowed to have credit cards. Women were not allowed to have bank accounts. A lot of things women were not allowed to have until really remarkably recently. But on the same token, really men were kind of iced out of all those areas too. Just a small percentage of men, basically the old-timey equivalent of the so-called ruling class. They were the ones that actually got to, reap the rewards of the masculine-run social structure. But the rest of humanity, male and female, they were out there eating dirt. They didn't have any good life. It was just at the very top. History is written about the folks at the top, but the 99% of the folks that weren't at the top, history is not written for them. It's not written about them. But these people were all toiling side by side, man and woman, digging turnips and trying to survive.
So like most people were plebeians and everybody else, there was a very select few were patricians.
That's it.
And so, but I think that's what made America so great, because we had this strong middle class. So do you think, a lot of top financial minds said that economy is as strong as their middle class. Do you still think that holds true if we have AI and robotics?
So we're still going to have a middle class. I think we'll just have we just won't have a poverty class anymore.
So what do you mean we don't have a poverty class?
I think that's going to go away.
That's going to go away. Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll have a middle class. It'll be maybe smaller, but it's kind of like just to take for example health coverage in some of these countries that have a universal health coverage plan. Like let's say France. In France, you can get you don't have to pay anything. You go to the doctor and it's all good. But it's not the nicest experience. Maybe it's a lot like going to the DMV, You got to wait, it's not the nicest environment. Maybe the air is a little stuffy in that waiting room. But you do get to see a doctor and you do get, everything you need to get done. But some folks, they decide to pay a little bit more and get a private thing on top of it. It's kind of like we do Medicare here.
Yes.
You have Medicare, you have the basic Medicare, you get seen. You still could wind up with debt if you get sick, but it's more reasonable. But you layer on these other Medicare plans, and then you could, if you have all the Medicare plans, if you have the kind of resources where you're retired and you can pay into Medicare that way, then you could be hit by a truck and be in the hospital for a year and a half and have cancer at the same time and other things, and you're okay. If you survive it, you're not going to have any debt because all your extra plans take over. So, and it's a much nicer experience than just being at the county hospital just because you have like plain Medicare. So I think layers. If we can provide layers to this, then we will have a middle class. But that means people are going to have to step up and figure stuff out. They'll have to use AI maybe to create their own small companies. Maybe they can create an AI company and then they can be labor for that AI company, because the AI company is going to be smarter than them. It's going to know more about business than them. It's going to know about marketing their product than them. So they can be a labor. They can get in their self-driving car, and they can be the ones, they save money on a robot, and they're the ones that take the stuff out of the trunk to deliver.
I get it, but eventually you have robots to be able to do that too,
right.
Like Coco.
And then you'll have a middle class that really pretty much sits back and is imitating what the ruling class does. And basically, even if it's an active business, it'll be like passive income because they're going to have AIs and robots running the whole thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, but doesn't, like you said, like going back to what you're saying, like everybody will get like a baseline of needs.
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound like socialism?
It is a socialist thing
Yeah.
it's the kind of thing where it's also socialist to have agents that are paid by the federal government standing at the border checking papers.
For sure.
So
yes.
that's a socialist thing too.
Yes.
But it's one that we tolerate because without it, there'd be it would be mayhem. So if a socialist
Mayhem.
policy is not adopted, it's going to be mayhem with all these folks with no income and no jobs, either very educated or not educated, and everybody in between. They're all going to be in the same boat, And sure, we had a lot of people of all walks of life. In 2008, they suffered and they all lost their homes, and then they went and they sat around right out in the southern tip of Manhattan under the Occupy Wall Street movement, which was very effective for about a minute, and then it turned out that it was rudderless, leaderless, which by design, and then really just saying, people, media, government, look what's happening here. We're getting thrown under the bus, and all these major corporations that we trusted, they're getting saved before they slam into a mountain. So this isn't right, and so we could face another situation like that if the government doesn't get if we don't get smart about taking care of folks who, with found money, let me add, sure, it's socialistic, but it's money that's created due to technology. Like when the cotton gin was created, suddenly you could weave cotton much faster than before, and suddenly you had bolts and bolts of fabric in record time when it would have taken weeks or months to create all those bolts of fabric. So what you do is you create more opportunity when you do these things.
Yeah, but
AI is not creating, at least as far as we can see, much opportunity for anybody. It's not like people are going to change jobs. The old saying, the old chestnut is, when ATMs came around, then a lot of bank tellers lost their jobs, but they were able to move on to things that were more interesting. But with AI, there's no opportunity to be entry-level anything, because and unless you're already an expert in something, a company can't use you because their AI can take care of everything shy of the expert level, and it won't be long before it can take care of expert level stuff too.
Well, maybe two areas where humans will be needed is like client relations.
Yeah.
Because the AI can't do client relations. So maybe like the top earners of, let's say, a law firm, the rainmakers, they would still be needed, because they would need to be able to talk to their clients and make sure they feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And maybe entrepreneurs, because if all these tech companies are making a windfall of money, like the original cotton gin companies, eventually other people just can be able to come into the marketplace too and start making the products much cheaper and much more competitive.
Right.
Yeah. So then if the laws of capitalism really take place, then there'd be a million Googles, there'd be a million Chat GPTs, which they're starting to become quite a few right now.
Well, there's always going to be a million.
Yeah.
Until there's not, until they start to consolidate, because eventually the public's just going to gravitate to one or the other. And more important than what the public does is what do these businesses do? Which AI companies do they partner with? Because one of the ways that they can mitigate the huge price of making an AI transition is just to partner with these companies.
Yes.
And say, here, let's turn AT&T into a partnership venture. We're going to give the ChatGPT company a chunk of AT&T, but you guys are going to AI everything for us.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a revenue multiplier, or at least an expense saver. So it'll seem like revenue multiplier. All this new cash, ostensibly the stock price should go up, and then everybody gets richer, even though they gave away a chunk of the company in a partnership to ChatGPT. Now, the question becomes, who's going to be buying this stock? I think that becomes a more complicated issue. I think you'll see fewer players in the stock market. You'll see whatever middle class remains, they might be in the stock market. You'll see, many higher end folks that have generational wealth. They'll still be in the stock market, but I think the result will be that the stock market's going to be much less liquid than it is now, because there'll be less, there'll be more money, but fewer sources of it. So there'll be fewer players, and when there's fewer players, it becomes a thicker market. It's less slippery.
But you think it'd be fewer players? I think it would be more players because of the fact the barrier. I guess the barrier to become an entrepreneur is very low now. I guess the only barrier to entry is marketing and attention, because attention is the new goal.
Yeah.
And so and it takes a lot of marketing dollars to get your product out there in front of them.
Right.
But to develop a product is easier than ever now.
Sure.
And especially now, if you can have AI and robotics pretty much do everything for you. You don't have to pay for 1 million laborers or 1 million employees to do something. It's easy to bring a product to market, but getting it in front of people's eyes, that's going to be.
That's always been the trick. Yeah.
That's always that. I think now more than ever, that's going to be the trick.
Yeah.
But I think if labor cost is going down to almost, I ain't gonna say zero, but down to like a fractional, a small fraction.
It's effectively zero. It's
effectively zero.
It's close.
So the barrier to entry to the entrepreneurial marketplace is very low in that sense. But I mean, I think let's say back in the days, everybody had slaves to make cotton. Or I don't know the process.
Throughout history, if you could have slaves, you would have slaves.
Exactly.
That's exactly how it went.
But the thing is, once the cotton gin came, you didn't need the slaves anymore. And so these companies, they didn't have to pay for. I mean, even though they didn't have to pay them wages, they still had to pay housing and boarding and all that stuff and take care of them. You know, fortunately, some slaves were rambunctious and they were rebellious. So they had to pay for all that. They didn't have to pay for that anymore once they had the gin.
I get it. They don't have to pay security anymore.
They don't have to pay for that. So their operation costs that went down significantly.
Right.
So if operation costs went down significantly, more players to the cotton business can come in because the barrier to entries are much less. So I'm saying now, if the cost of doing business is a lot less, will there be more players? Will there be more entrepreneurs in the marketplace now?
Okay, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So some of these people with a universal basic income, they'll be like, "Oh, hey, let me put some of this in the stock market, or let me go ahead and start my AI company too." Yeah, sure. But if right now, these folks are already full-grown adults and exist, because we're talking about something that could happen in the next 5 years, is what a lot of folks are saying. Could be the next 20 years, but regardless, they're already alive, and most of them are already in some kind of an adult role. And if they really had it in them, they'd probably they'd be doing something entrepreneurial now. Like a lot of these folks, they might be doing something on Instagram, for example. They're trying to be entrepreneurial there, but so they're going to post a video and maybe
affiliate market or something.
Yeah,
like that?
something like that.
Right.
But they're going to do it maybe 1 or 2 a day or something like that. And what they're missing is that the kind of hustle that you need to start up any kind of business. Unless you're selling water to people who are waiting in line on a very hot day to get into somewhere, and the gates don't open for 2 hours. Unless you have a wagon and you have 4 cases of water, you can sell the bottles for $5 each, and you don't have to make any effort. Just walk real slow with a sign that says $5 each, and you will sell out of that water, and it costs you 25 cents a bottle. That's a pretty good rate of return.
Yes.
So, but unless it's something that easy, then if these folks didn't have the hustle now to do that kind of thing, then they're not going to have the hustle just because AI happens.
Agreed. I mean, though, I think people that are past a certain age, they're not going to be able to be entrepreneurs. I'm talking about the people that are probably these Gen Zers, and going back to that poll, and we got the new mayor-elect in New York City.
Yeah.
He was definitely elected mostly by these young 20-year-olds that came out in record numbers, because usually 20-year-olds that Gen Z don't come out to vote.
Right.
But these people that are just graduating from college, like your own kids who are in their early 20s, they can be the entrepreneurs that they can be the entrepreneurs instead of saying, instead of working for Goldman Sachs for 30 years waiting for retirement, I'll just start my own AI company now.
Yeah, but the majority of these kids are the kids that you saw are the kids that you see protesting. These aren't the kids that are going to Wall Street. These aren't the kids that are going into entrepreneurial fields. Some of them maybe, but the majority of them, they're in majors that may seem very interesting, but they're treating it like job training. And English Lit is a terrific major. It really expands the mind, but it's not job training. It's not going to get you a job. You know, you might have a little trouble getting a job at Starbucks, English lit, because if you haven't been working much, they're going to care more about your job history than what your degree is in.
Can you get it done? And eventually, that they already had that little robot right there making espressos.
That's next. That's
like
next
you don't know
too.
how to press that button right there and activate the robot.
Yeah, that's right. You know, if you think too much about like a sonnet or something, then maybe you don't belong here. So I don't know that just because they're young and because they have an opportunity, I don't think they necessarily have it in them, not because of any inherent natural quality, or not even because of they didn't live right for this kind of result. Now, living right or living wrong really has to do with what result you want. So if you think you've been living right, but you want to be, a professional baseball player, but you only played baseball on the weekends, then I'm sorry to tell you, but you've been living wrong based on the results you want.
Exactly.
So if the results these folks want is to be entrepreneurs in the age of AI, then they've been living wrong their whole lives.
For sure.
And their parents have been training them wrong their whole lives.
For sure.
They haven't interfered with the kids saying, hey, look, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to stop, with the social worker major, that's not the way to become an entrepreneur.
I get it. Yep.
Because it reinforces values that are not entrepreneurial, that are very important to humanity, but they're not entrepreneurial. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to go to an area where you learn things and learn values that are entrepreneurial, not that are more strictly humanitarian and socialist. And the other thing is, a lot on these college campuses, it really all these kids that did vote for Mandami because they think he's a socialist, which I'm going to comment on in a minute. But they did vote for Mandami. So if they're voting for what they think is a socialist, why in the world would they ever want to be entrepreneurs? Because clearly, if you vote for a socialist, it's because you favor socialistic policies, which by definition makes you a socialist. So you're not going to be an entrepreneur. You want to be a socialist. You want your rent to be cheap. You don't want to earn more money through entrepreneurship so that you can afford the rent. You want the rent to be cheaper. And you want people who are entrepreneurs and did make money to pay extra tax to do it. Then there's nothing Mandami can do. The majority of his programs that he ran on, that everybody was saying, yeah, go, and they voted for that. They may be great programs, but he's running for the wrong office because the mayor has no control over most of these programs, over the MTA, over the buses, over most of the rent control. One of the few only things that that the mayor does have control over is spending $60 million to build these city-owned grocery stores. That the city can do. But the majority of this other stuff is either joint partnership with the state, but the vast majority is stuff that is exclusively the purview of the governor and the state legislature, not of the mayor. So this has just been smoke and mirrors, just like most political campaigns are, with false promises. Everybody does it, except on steroids, because he was so charismatic. And he really hit the nerve of the voting public so sonically. It's such a harmonic note that he hit. He got everybody on the same page. But it's that's what makes it so diabolical. That all these guys step up there and they do their best to have plausible deniability, but they all overpromise about what they're going to do. But in this case, nearly everything he said was, if I were governor, I could do all this stuff, but I'm only mayor, so elect me, and then I will talk to the governor and see about putting some of these into effect. But the guy didn't say that. He just said, we need to have affordable housing for everybody. We need to have free buses. We need to have this and that and the other thing, all state issues. And he never said, now, folks, these are state issues, but as your mayor, I will be in Albany every Friday, and I will be dogging the governor all weekend long, and be back at my desk here in New York City Monday morning, putting out press releases on what was accomplished over that weekend. But every Friday, I'm going down to get these done. He didn't do that. He made the impression that as mayor, he could do these things, and he can't. So people will forgive him, of course, because we always forgive our politicians for lying to us. But it's I don't think the Mandami issue is going to be terribly significant for New York. I think that it's going to be no worse than Bill De Blasio. He wasn't universally loved by either side, and he certainly was pretty significantly on the left. But he didn't. Sure, some of his policies may have been great, but he never got to get them done because they weren't mayor issues. And that's the problem. The problem is how these young people. The worst part about this, Rich, is these young people who voted for Mandami because of all these socialist issues. Which let's just put the socialist issues aside. They may be great issues. We may have folks that are expert on socialism explain to us why these are great social issues. I'm not gonna. I don't think we need to comment on that, but we do need to comment on what are all these Generation Z, maybe the first or second time they're voting, and now they're going to find out, the ones that care, the ones that actually read something that's outside of their bubble, they're going to see that, oh, he can't do these things. This is governor stuff.
It's outside of the scope of
it's like, why didn't he tell us? I feel kind of misled. I'm very hurt because I really love this man. I think a lot of these kids are going to feel that way, and all we need is one more generation to be soured on the political process. That's not good for the country.
It's definitely not good for the country. But so I want to go back to if the AI takes over and everything like that, what will be the new economy? Will it kind of be like how it was before the Industrial Revolution, where going back to will more people be like merchants so they become independent contractors or entrepreneurs or plumbers or tradesmen and stuff like that, and not working for a big company anymore, not working for a big corporation anymore? Could you see that type of economy if AI and robots take over all the jobs at the major corporations?
I think what you're describing might be the best case scenario.
Yeah.
Where it just becomes a tool that big corporations use and also entrepreneurs use. It's almost like the telephone and knowing how to read and write. Now we have these tools. We've got the phone and we know how to read and write. So we can do more. We can learn more. Reading and writing is a force multiplier, and a telephone is like a teleportation device.
For sure.
It can take you anywhere instantly where you can cut a deal. So that would be best case scenario, that we become. We get a whole category of people that check out. It's like, nope, I'm good with my X number of $1,000s a month. Maybe I'll do a little gig work on the side to supplement for when I'm on a vacation, but I'm good. It's like, okay. But then we're going to have a whole category of people who decide to go ahead and make something happen for themselves, and they're going to use AI.
But what you're saying, the young group now, you don't think they're trending that way?
I don't see how they could be. I mean, it's if you don't have it in you, it's like going to the gym. If you don't have it in you to go to the gym 5 days a week and over the course of 18 months, improve your body so that you're camera ready and you can post pictures on your Instagram and people will say, wow, Joe Johnson's looking real cut. Man, I remember when he was chubby. I mean, if you don't have it in you to take the time, the year and a half to transform your body or transform your mind or transform
your skill set.
Yeah, your skill set. If you don't have it now, why would you have it when AI comes around? It's kind of like, when you're in high school and there's kids who are C students and it's already like the beginning of junior year, and it's like, in the second semester of junior year, I'm really gonna
and study hard for the SAT.
Yeah. And then when I get to college, that's when I'm really gonna get serious. It's like, oh, my friend. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You got to show it now. Otherwise, it's just magical thinking that you're actually going to do it in a year or two.
So what you're describing is a very dystopian future where people are just kind of like slaves to their sensations and their pleasures and not really doing anything productive.
Well, I mean, don't you think we're kind of there already to some degree?
We are. So maybe we are domesticated already by the AI and the robots. Like we're a slave to our Netflix algorithm, or our YouTube algorithm, or our Instagram or our TikTok algorithm. When you say so.
Well, it's kind of like that movie WALL-E, where when it switches to the humans that are in this cruise spaceship, they're all obese and they're on these floating chairs and they're drinking like like big gulps that are full of the highest calorie junk you can imagine. So it's based on our perfection. You know, we're perfect, and whether folks believe in God or not, we are created perfectly. And what I mean by that is this environment of Earth. We are 8 billion strong. We dominated the entire planet as far as the living creatures are concerned. And yeah, sure, people say, yeah, well, tell that to the cockroaches that you're constantly fighting and poisoning your own self because you're spraying for cockroaches. It's like, well, you know, sure, there's more cockroaches and rats than there are us. But really, when you talk about quality of life and intelligence and what we've built, obviously human beings run the planet. There's a lot we can do to improve what's going to happen in the future. We're very resilient that way. You know, we are adaptable. So, but the problem is that we're not all adaptable. We're adaptable as a species, not as an individual.
Well, so I go back. I go to this question then. It seems like there's always been a bell curve throughout history. And it seems like maybe only like the top 5% has been carrying our whole species, and everybody else kind of just falls in line. Do you think that bell curve holds true, or maybe the ratio changes a little bit?
So the top 5% has been carrying the species, and until relatively recently, the bottom 95% would just not reproduce or die off. So it's the top 5% that culminated in us.
But now it's the opposite.
Now it's the opposite.
Like the dumb are having a lot of kids, and the highly intellectual ones are not having kids.
You and
Idiocracy.
you and I and everybody living today come from a long line of fierce, I'm going to say fierce men, because men were the protectors. Because sure, the women are very important as well. But you know, let's talk about the men, because the men are the ones who had to earn the right to reproduce. The men were the ones that had to show that there were families that would say, "No, daughter, you're not going to marry that village boy because I just don't think that he'd pick up the axe when the bad guys invade. And you need to marry a man who's going to pick up the axe, not just to be good to you in the home, but to pick up the axe and leave the home and join the rest of us and actually fight bravely." So we are the result of 200,000 years of modern human men acting bravely. The ones that were not brave, their genes don't exist anymore. Men and women are the culmination of all these brave men and all these strong women. So of that 5%. So now, as you say, that is reversed, and that 5% is still carrying society, but that tail of society is really big.
So you're saying
because they're not dying off.
So you're saying it's going to be like a reverse Darwinism, the survival of the unfittest.
The survival of those who are not the most adapted to the environment, sure. But AI will ostensibly replace that 5% to carry the population, and AI, or it'll be like a little extra boost. It's kind of like these cars now that have engine and they're like
hybrids.
So they
engine and electric.
They do the electric at the same time as the engine. So it takes a 330 horsepower engine and turns it into like 700 horsepower because you got 4 motors on those wheels. AI is those motors that turns that combustion engine, which is that 5%, that it turns it into just an incredible force.
Force multiplier.
That'll carry basically the dead weight of the rest of the population that really should have been and this is going to sound like eugenics, which you can't shoot the messenger for pointing stuff out. So there's the stuff we have to watch for. It's not the stuff that we're advocating. It's stuff that we have to look out for. These are the perils and dangers. There's going to be folks that are saying, "No, you're manifesting that into reality." And I say, okay, we don't want to do that, but we also don't want to blindly pretend that there's not bears and tigers right around that corner. If we walk there, like if we say, "Well, Rich, we better look out for the bears and tigers around that corner," and one of our friends says, "Gee, George, you're going to manifest that into existence." The reality is, no, if we turn the corner and not consider that there might be bears and tigers there because the zoo just had a breakout, then we're being very foolish. We're not manifesting it. We're making so that it doesn't manifest by trying to plan against it. So, it's going to have to be sound thinking that carries us through. The only problem is if this AI stuff gets too deep into command and control of real essential systems, either of the messing with our utilities and our water is as bad as dropping bombs.
Oh, definitely.
Because
you need water, and
because you give us 5 days of limited water and food and no utilities, and basically it's Mad Max in LA.
Yeah, definitely. It already is. You haven't been to downtown LA.
Yeah, right.
It's pretty crazy.
Well, it doesn't take much to actually just have mayhem in the streets, like 24/7. That's way too much for police. So police pull back and they just say, we got to let this stuff burn out. It's kind of like what they do with wildfires.
Yes.
It's going to be a time when police are going to have to pull back and just let it flame out, and then just fire and rescue will come and pick up the dead bodies, and the police will come and start shooting anybody who's left. So, sadly, that may be the dystopian future if cooler heads don't prevail.
So that is a form of Darwinism.
That's a form of Darwinism.
It's
yeah.
like those people kind of be eliminated from the genetic pool.
So we don't have to worry about the Terminator scenario. We're going to have a pretty bad scenario before that. But the Terminator scenario with the other scenario, if we can keep AI out of command and control of national governments, then that's the best chance at turning AI into a survivable event. But here's the thing, Rich. It's always going to be a survivable event from some humans. A lot of us are going to be removed from the gene pool just by natural selection. There's going to be no human that puts a gun to our head and ends us. It won't be about that. It'll be about this is a tremendous change. It's a sea change. It's like a climate change on steroids. It's 10 times, 100 times greater than any climate change. It's 10 times greater than even the airplane. I mean, think about it.
At least 10 times.
Yeah. You're born right around the time, maybe 5-6 years before the Civil War. So you're old enough to know what's going on in your country when there's a civil war. And then by the time you're middle age, and they're using muskets, like single shot. And then it literally takes 2 minutes to clean that thing out, put another ball in there and shoot. Now when you're late middle age, now you're sending your son to World War I, where they're dropping bombs from these machines that float and move forward, which was inconceivable before. And they're firing guns that shoot 100 rounds a minute. It's not one round, 2 minutes to clean it, and then another round. And now we have rifled barrels, so you can be farther, because when you have a musket, it goes out like this, and it shifts in the wind, and it doesn't go anywhere. Whereas the rifling makes sure that the bullet goes in a straight line. So we have that kind of a sea change drove people to madness, so much change in such a short period of time. I think that's going to be like a pinky fingernail compared to the sea change we're going to have here.
No question.
A lot of people are just going to lose their minds.
No question about that.
Over the changes that are happening.
So then I want to ask you this question. So say if we do have universal basic income and everybody gets their basic needs taken care of, housing, a little bit of money just to survive, eating, stuff like that. Not talking about what other dystopian things that may happen, like maybe like people mayheming or rioting in the street, but say none of that happens. Just say, what would people do if they had no sense of work anymore, no sense of responsibility to work?
Right. Well, all we have to do is look at a 40-year-old that still gets a nice subsistence from their family, who's not really, really rich.
A trust fund,
maybe? But who's, I'm not saying the guy gets $100,000 a month, but if the guy gets $8,000 a month, and he doesn't have to work for it, Now, he's paying, in LA, he's paying $4,000 of that for housing. Okay, he's got $4,000 left. Okay, he's got $4,000 to play with for the entire month. He's a 40-year-old, no kids, no spouse, doesn't have to work. There's plenty of people out there like that. I think it'd be very easy to see what people would do. I think you have to have the right personality for it. but they spend maybe 3 times longer to get ready in the morning than everybody else. It's kind of like the creature grows to the size of the tank that it's in. You know, so when I was in high school, we had a biology lab, and there was this turtle that existed there forever, long before I got there. But by the end of my sophomore year, suddenly a crack appeared in the tank he was in. So who knows how it got there? So we raised some money, all of us, all the students, and to buy him a new tank. So at the end of the school year, we bought him a new tank. This was in May or June. And we set it up, and we put the turtle in there as a new tank. Great, he had a new tank. We come back 3-4 months later in the fall. This turtle is significantly larger than he was before. Why? This is a mature turtle, 20-year-old turtle.
Bigger tank.
But these things will grow depending on the tank. So that's what we do as humans. If we have all the time in the world, because basically we're tired. If you don't work anymore and you're getting money, you're retired. So your day will fill up. You'll spend 2-3 times longer at the grocery store than somebody who has a job and other responsibilities. They will just find ways to fill their time, which is the same kind of stuff we do outside of work, but they'll do it instead of work, so they'll spread it out longer. It's not like they'll necessarily have more exciting lives. You know, they won't be traveling and jumping out of airplanes and things. They'll just have the same lives that they would have had if they were working, only you take out the work component and just fill in that space with moving slower.
So you're pretty much saying that most people do kind of live a boring, dull life. They just have to work 40 hours a week and commute another 10 hours a week.
Pretty much. And it's not so much boring or dull, it's just routine.
It's routine.
It's routine oriented. Because it's really it's what makes us healthy, mentally healthy, to have our routines.
It is. But it also having a little bit of what is it called? Struggle also makes us healthy too.
100%. No struggle, no progress.
Yeah, no struggle, no progress. Yeah, you sound like a Black Panther right there. No struggle,
no
progress.
Well, that's James Baldwin. No struggle, no progress.
Baldwin, yes, yeah.
No struggle, no progress. It's because if you ever try something new and it's easy for you, then it's like then you shouldn't have been with this squad. You should have been with that group of students. Yeah. You know, because these students were too. Even though you've never done this before, clearly you have an aptitude. So we're going to move you to this next group until you start struggling. Not overwhelming struggle, but struggles that if you apply yourself, you overcome them.
Exactly.
That's the level that people need to be at in order to actually grow and benefit and not be all self-absorbed and not have too much time to think about their own troubles. You know, that's the other thing. There's a whole wave right now in therapy where you just continually talk about your struggles and your pains and stuff. But that, according to many experts on psychology and psychiatry, they're saying that is a wrong approach.
Just like waddling your own shit.
You just give it a life much bigger than it would have had. Yeah. Instead of, sure, some things do ultimately have to be dealt with.
Like if you got molested by your uncle when you were 7,
exactly.
Talk about that.
You got to talk about it, but at a certain point, it has to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. You just make sure you cover all the bases, and then
you got to move forward.
Move forward. Maybe some cognitive behavioral therapy. Because a lot of things is just habit. You just have to change the habit. I have a habit of crying every morning when I look in the mirror because all I see is, whatever the trauma was. It's like, okay, well, let's examine it, and then let's have an endpoint where we can move on from it. Because if you allow this trauma to live rent-free in your head, then the trauma has won.